How can a pus-drinking saint help us think about medical ethics? That's what we're going to be talking about today on Light on History. Picture it. Medieval Italy, 1300s. You're poor, very sick. You lie in bed as the sores on your back ooze pus. Luckily, someone's taking care of you. Her name's Catherine. She's nice enough, holier than thou maybe, but she does try. That's important. Something touches your back. It's not cloth, and she's already tried kissing your wounds before. What is she doing now? And as you turn around, you see her lift a cup to her mouth, and there's a sheen on it from where it had just been pressed against your back. And as you start to put the pieces together, you see her throat move. A gulp. They went on to make Catherine a saint. So many questions. And that's really all I want to do. I don't want to make a sustained argument because that would require research, and that's what's really gross. There's something lurking in my reaction to Catherine's canonization, and I want to draw that out. Starting off, why was it okay? Was it because it was chronic instead of an acute emergency? I feel like they would not have been cool with Catherine kissing a bone sticking through skin. Right? Oh, please tell me I'm right. And if a physician or a surgeon had seen her in the act, what would they have said? That is just pure curiosity. On to the next question. What was the balance of pros and cons that the church saw back then? On the one hand, the fact of the matter is that this wound kissing and pus drinking was viewed positively within a church perspective as self-mortification. But on the other hand, But this is where the first question ties back in. Why was it okay? There was a specific patient at play, and it had to be relevant because A, there's only so far the patient's condition could go before a severe line is crossed. And B, the care rendered had to be up to some standard because after all, neglect is hardly saintly. So it's somewhere in that balance that Catherine happened to tack on this spiritual practice. My perspective naturally skews away from theirs back then because self-mortification has no meaning for me. So it plays no role on the scale of pros and cons beyond how it may help or aggravate the patient's condition. Like if it was for the patient, it would make sense to me. If only the wound kissing and pus drinking had been ways of trying to apply spiritual healing or drawing out the sickness, that would make so much more sense to me. But it's the self-mortification, the spiritual discipline for Catherine, and its complete lack of relationship to the care of the patient that really bothers me. And it's especially more bothersome because just in the next generation, you see an example of Saint Francesca of Rome. And she was spiritual, she became a saint. She was spiritually self-disciplined, but she took care of patients. So, for example, for herself, she refused traditional care and medicines. Cool. It's giving austerity. I get it. But for others, she intervened with prayer and touch and even sought out appropriate medicines. A really good example is when some woman brought a young girl who was mute and tried to get Francesca to heal her. Francesca said that she should take the girl to a medicus, a person trained in medicine. So within that, you see this recognition of her own limitations, which is also wonderfully appropriate, right? It's like working within her own scope. As a saint, like what? But I don't know, I like that. But I have to allow for the likely fact that my focus on the medical context is actually warping what was appropriate for the time, right? Because I carry modern notions about patient-centered practice, and clearly the relationship, the context was a lot more fuzzy. Catherine of Siena was in fact performing her society's expectations. She wasn't punished, and she was rewarded after she was dead. And that's just fascinating to me. Even when a medical provider doesn't make sense to me, they very well could be applying the rules of their society. So ultimately, the pus-drinking saint, Catherine of Siena, helped me consider the patient-provider relationship and the embeddedness of practitioners within their society. I first learned about St. Francesca of Rome and St. Catherine of Siena in Nancy Sarassi's book, Medieval and Early Renaissance Medicine. And I cannot recommend this book highly enough. But wouldn't you know, I did try. So click somewhere and watch my book review. Oh my god, I did a book review. What? So my name's Nick, and thank you for letting me shine a light on history for you.